Quick, here we go.
Real quick, is it R-E-Y or R-A-Y?
R-A-Y.
As in king?
As in king, that's fine. It's actually,
Hey, Laura and Mandy
It's-
is recording this.
it's Ray Michael Juan Costales, if you want it. Juan's the middle name, Ray Michael's the first
Is
name.
that Mister?
That's Mr. I guess.
Got it.
I'm not as cool as my wife. I'm not a doctor, so I just have to. Hey, you.
Oh, you're not a doctor?
Really?
No. It's, hey you. Hey you. That's it.
Alright, Ray, what you got?
Okay. Let's start with just these three. These are the most popular pads we do, correct?
Yeah.
That you guys see up in the front.
Yeah.
You've got red, green, white, and black. Everybody know what the white is for?
Polishing.
Polishing.
Right, correct, and it's softer than any other.
Yes. The red pad, what's that?
A little bit more abrasive.
Okay, what do we use it for? If it's not polishing, what's the next thing?
Okay.
Cleaning. It's a cleaning. Try to keep the red pad under the term of cleaning. It'll be easier in the future once we go through the terminology. The green one,
Scrubbing?
scrubbing. And the black pad, stripping, or it could be heavy duty scrubbing depending on what the task is you're trying to complete.
Dirty concrete, right?
So would you
Yeah.
say that the red and the green, like the green one is a little bit more abrasive than
Yes,
the red?
and this is your abrasiveness as well.
Okay.
So that's why I gave them to you in that order.
Wait,
And this is what we carry here. There's brown pads, there's purple pads, there's a lot of other pads, but you can get through everything our customers do that walk in the front door. This will take care of them. As far as the terminology goes, we talked a little bit real quick about that. The term buffing, I would try not to use that term. It's a little bit too broad, because buffing, what does it mean? Usually we buff a car. So we put wax on a car and buff that. What we put on floors is finish. So try not to use the word wax either for your floors, because technically it's a floor finish. Yes, it's an acrylic, water-based, soluble product, so there's no wax in there. It's an old term, so we try to keep that away. So we look better as a company when we say finish,
Floor finish.
because then we know what we're talking about. When you say wax, it's goofy. There's no wax on the floor. Wax is for your mustache and you curl it, or for your car, or for your who surfs. You're a surfer?
You gonna curl your beard for us, Ray?
It's long enough. So yeah, but when people say I need a 5-gallon pail of wax, I won't go out of my way to correct them unless I feel it's necessary. If it's just what they said, you don't need to like throw them under the bus and say, "Excuse me, sir, but that's the wrong terminology."
It's
If we go back and just repeat, and they say, "Okay, can I have 5 gallons of wax?" and you bring it back over and say, "Oh, here's your floor finish," maybe they'll try to say, "Sir, that's not floor finish. You're incorrect. Go, leave." So we want to be nice about it.
Okay.
Okay, is that cool? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next section, the pads. Any question on these? These are just the pads. We'll go into more what they do on the machines. When they do machines on Thursday, you're gonna go right back through a lot of these pads about what they do and what you put under your machine and for what purpose, all that kind of stuff. So whatever we're talking about each day, it's gonna be going back to this terminology and these same pads again. So when they come in the front door, this is what they're usually looking for. Not usually so much out of these. You guys probably don't get a lot of stone questions every once in a while. Usually you guys call me on that anyway. Okay. These are, anybody know what kind of pads these are? What they're for? Burnishing. Burnishing. I like to use the term burnishing again over polishing. Polishing is fine, but burnishing really tells us what we're doing to the floor and to the floor finish that's on the floor.
So all of those are considered burnishing pads?
Yes, they're just different levels. If you have a floor finish that you know that's on the floor that's kind of weak, the 20% solid or something that's cheap, use the lighter ones. We have a champagne, not the champagne, the pink ones, the top burnishers.
Yeah, we do.
The,
Some are back there?
We
Okay.
did.
Yeah, there's a pink one in here that's kind of in the middle. That's one of more of your higher end burnishing pads, and the cocoa pad. I didn't see a
So
cocoa
the
pad.
pink one's also an eraser pad, right?
Yes,
And the eraser pad does what? What's it erase?
on this one,
You know what I mean?
it's a melamine pad. So everybody knows what Mighty Sponge or Mr. Clean Sponge
Magic
is.
erasers.
That's all this is. It's a magic eraser.
Magic eraser pad.
Yes, and these work really well. We don't sell a lot of them here because we're not usually selling them. Because if anybody comes in and they've got a white VCT floor that has a lot of scuff marks on it, all they want to do is take the scuff marks out. We're usually giving them one of these too, correct? With some Fresh 7, something like that.
Sure.
You can replace those with this with just water.
Lots of water.
Yeah. Make sure this is nice and soaking wet when you use it because it does grab the floor, especially if it's a rubber floor. But this works wonders.
Does
This is
it
awesome.
deteriorate just as quickly as
Only if,
sponge?
yeah, it does if you're going over a lot of lippage. The wetter it gets, the more it starts to come apart. But if it's a flat floor, just like you go into a school and you just have a long hallway of VCT, and the custodian's there with the tennis ball trying to get all the hoof mark, just put this on the bottom of any machine, soaking wet, and just go back and forth, and it just takes them all out.
Should you be reapplying water as you go?
What I do, I take this off, I fold it up, and dunk it in a bucket of water, like a mop bucket, and just get it soaking wet and put it under there. If you have a tank on the machine, you can just let water out of the tank. Same thing if you don't have a tank, just make sure, you'll know, the customer will know once this thing gets dry, because they won't be able to hold on to the machine. It's gonna grab the floor,
Okay.
but they'll feel it coming. So you just gotta let them know, just
So they can put it on the front of an auto scrubber, 20
Yeah.
inch, and just
Whatever.
have the water going all the time and just
whatever. Yeah. I have some pictures of this on a CT-15 doing a rubber floor at Van Buren in the gym, and it's just one perfect glossy streak where the machine went. So I had to take a picture. So somewhere around the line, I have this. That's what this really awesome pad. And then we have these in square as well somewhere. I have some in my garage. So this can be square, it can be handheld, it can be.
Ray, what don't you have in your garage?
That's a very good question.
I don't have
It's cars.
Right.
I don't have a high-end sports car. I do not have that. So
What is that
maybe
greenish,
Charlie.
greenish one at the bottom?
That's an aqua pad.
It's not aqua. The green, the
oh yeah, that's one of the
burnishing?
burnishing pads. I found it was up there, so I brought it out. But you can tell just by feeling it how much more aggressive it is than the champagne.
Yeah.
So
Or
we
even
used
the
to have
white
a light
pad.
blue one for a while, but whatever the guys bring in, Matt and Andrew, whoever's ordering stuff, but it doesn't matter what we come in.
But that's a 20 inch, right? 20?
Yeah, most you're not gonna.
Yeah. That's what I was
A
gonna
high speed 17 inch. If you see one, let Charlie and AJ know because it would be an oddity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
say. 17
they're.
inch high speed?
I had a 17 inch burnisher, believe it, propane, years ago. Got in a storm. So, but it was an antique back then. But they're around. They exist, but they're rare.
We had
So,
a 13-inch high speed here for a while.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, that little pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember that. Yeah. So they're around, but more than likely, anybody walking in the front door as a retail customer, when they want something to burnish the floor, that's going to be a 20 inch. That's going to be rare that it's not. If it's a regular customer that comes in, they're usually propane, and they'll already have that in the system. But those are usually 21s, 27s, 33s, I guess, 34.
24.
Okay.
And you said burnishing is a better word than polishing, right?
Yes, because what we're doing, we're heating up the floor finish, and when it heats up, it changes the structure of the floor finish, and it brightens up and it polishes it a little bit harder, and it gets it has more gloss to it.
Okay.
So we can actually put gloss meters on the floor and see what the difference is in the gloss. So that way we want to see burnish because that's what we're doing. We're heating up the floor.
Okay.
Can I make one statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to.
When in doubt, just ask them what they're doing.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Because a lot of times they'll ask, you know, oh, I want to polish my floor or burnish it or whatever, but they have that little floor machine.
So how they showed me at school, if you go like this with your hands, you're just doing that, right? How is it? That's like your friction.
Like a low speed.
Low speed, right? But if you go like this with your hands, man, your hands will get hot, right? They're hot. So you have a faster, higher speed. So the hotter you do that, the more you're gonna use these kinds because it's gonna heat the whack or the
To
finish.
yeah, to a certain level, be wary of what floor finish they have on the floor. If you put these types of pads on cheap floor finish, you'll burn the floor.
Those are the purple,
Yeah, these are the Perco Light and Perco Elite.
the heavy. Okay.
Yeah, we're going back to America. They're gonna be elite.
Okay, yeah, so that's the terminology from Americo, ACS. We have all the different pad manufacturers. Everybody's going to talk something different. But technically, they're hog hair pads. So back in the old days, they were actually made out of hog hair. They still make them. But when you use them, they smell like burnt hair.
So what happens if you put a high-speed burnish pad on a low-speed machine? What kind of results do you get?
Not much, because it's just not, it doesn't have enough speed to it. You can, it's not going to hurt the floor, but usually they don't have enough, it doesn't have enough speed to it.
But back
Maybe
in
a
the
350,
days, yeah.
like a dual speed, low speed, might be able to get something done. But at 175 RPM, usually it's not,
Yeah.
just doesn't have enough heat generating.
But these ones, Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, these hog hairs, they used to be used more for, because when I was back at Diamond Bright, we used to have the propane machines.
Yeah.
Those were like, so we'd use these on those, because those things are like, like
Yeah.
a Harley Davidson going.
Almost every high speed you'll see is going to have a hog hair pad on it because they go with it. A propane machine goes twice as fast, it weighs twice as much.
They don't have them around as
So
much.
propanes aren't quite in demand as
There
they were a
used to
few
be a
years
bunch
ago.
at Walmarts and everything, they used
And
to
you
use
can
these
ask
all the time.
Charlie, you probably
Yeah,
don't see
a
them as
lot
much.
of companies got rid of them because of the emissions.
Yeah, it just wasn't.
Yeah, so.
And yeah,
That's what the
but,
hog hairs were mainly for, was the propanes. They used to use those all the time.
what I
Was the
use,
high-speed still fast enough for those hog hairs?
yeah, because we can get some electricals that go 2,000.
Oh, okay.
Most of them are going to be 15. But we have some that go 2,000 RPM. But with the good floor finish, we only sell good floor finish here. So anything that's our floor finish, from crystal to the new 1004 gold, all that stuff, we have the premium floor. We don't sell anything that's junk. So anything we sell is going to be okay for them to put these pads on.
Okay.
Just so you guys know, unless they're using, just always ask them.
If they're using Home Depot or something, it's probably
Yeah,
gonna be.
if they're using crystal, stay away from these high ones.
Okay.
Stay with the champagne
Okay.
for the crystal. If
What
they
about it when we have cocoa in? Would
Cocoa
be
pad is
good?
usually the best bet overall because it fits. It's right down the middle. It's very neutral.
What about a 3M Aqua?
That's what this one is.
Is that one a 3M Aqua?
Yeah.
I think it was probably the same thing.
The 3M Aqua is pretty aggressive.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's going to be more aligned with this one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when they're burnishing the floor, they just got to remember not to leave the machine in one space.
Why?
They'll burn it. They'll burn it just
If
like.
you ever want to be safe, just sell them a white. The whites are always like,
Yeah, the
pretty-
white's not going to do a whole lot, but if they have light scratches or just minimal stuff, the white will be fine. It depends. Everybody has a different floor maintenance program, so it's hard to guess unless you get a lot of information from the customer exactly what's going to fit their design. Yes, Matt.
Spray buff. What would work best with spray buff?
Any of the burnishing pads. Don't use spray buff with anything that's a low speed. It just doesn't. What spray buff does is just filling in really light scratches that are on the surface. And usually with most really good floor finishes, spray buff, it really isn't needed. It makes the customer feel good because that's a little.
Would
thing
you
out there.
recommend any chemical to put on your floor before taking a burnisher to it?
The Red Restorer is probably the
Friction.
best because it's
Damage.
it's a rejuvenating. So what we don't want to do, we don't want the floor finish to get too hard and start to be brittle. Because when it's brittle, it doesn't polish and that's when it starts to peel and crack. So we always want the floor finish to maintain a flexibility to it. And by doing that, we use the Red Restorer on a regular basis. So that's why when they come in and buy Red Restorer just to spray buff, they're not really getting the effect.
Okay.
The Red Restorer is part of a maintenance program where that's what they mop with before they burnish.
Okay.
What that does, it conditions the floor. Just like those of you who have hair, You have shampoo and conditioner.
What the hell are those?
And
There's a couple in there. No, there he is.
Or lotion. Lotion for your hands. Maybe lotion.
So yeah, that's
Lotion.
the Red Restore is a conditioner
Okay.
for the floor if you want to look at it that way. Rejuvenator. That works really good if you stick to the Ultra Chem line and you're doing their floor finish and their Red Restore
we
and
have
burnishing.
some of the Ultra Chem.
Oh, not Ultra Chem, what did I say?
Yeah, you said Ultra Chem because
Chemical Universe.
Chemical, there you go.
But actually, whether it's Chemical Universe, whether it's Canberra, Ultra Chem, Betco, whoever it is, if you stick with their line, that usually your floors come out really well because you're staying with their product because that's how they tested their product. They didn't bring other products in to test that. So if you stick with their line, you'll probably get the best results. It's not necessary, but if anybody ever asks you guys that question, yeah, it's good to stick with all the Canberra stuff or all the Shamrock stuff that's Chemical Universe stuff instead of crisscrossing them. It's not going to hurt anything, but
So that spray buff is made by Harbor. And we
Yeah.
carry the Harbor.
all it is, basically what spray buff is floor finish with a lot of water in it. It's pretty much what it is, and there's some other things in there. But all that's designed to do is to fill in all the hairline scratches.
Right, like when it heats it up, it melts
Yeah,
into
it
it.
just, and it's so minor, you really can't see it unless you have a glass on it. Now, to floor guys who do it on a regular basis will notice it. But for the average person, they're not gonna notice it. And I've noticed over the last 10 years or so, if you've got a premium floor finish and you have a maintenance program with your high speed and some pads, you don't really need the spray buff because you're mopping with Red Restore. It eliminates the other one. So I guess you can use spray buff as like an emergency, like a Band-Aid sort of. Back in the day, that was almost required. So
Right.
we put the floor finish down, it just wasn't good enough. It was good stuff. I mean, the Signature and stuff from way back in the 90s, but it's not as good as the stuff we have nowadays.
It's dry shampoo.
Much different. Stripping pads, we talked too much about the stripping pads, right? You guys know this, the difference between this one and the other one, right?
Yes.
This one and this one.
The 3M high productivity pad.
Yeah, these are the high pros.
What's the difference?
Quality. So, and you guys know the price. This is what, $20?
Yes.
Can rinse it
And
out.
this is $5.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. I can spend $20 on 5 of these, or just buy one of these. I'm gonna have the same effect and longevity as I do as with one of these.
Can you flip them over or reuse any of them?
All of
You
them.
can rinse that out.
All
What
pads.
should you rinse floor finish out of?
The pads.
Out of that 3M pad,
Just cold water.
cold water.
So that's for stripping.
Yeah. I mean, if you have stripper in here and you didn't rinse it out and you threw it in the back of your van and you brought it
gonna
out the
harden
next
up.
night, you can't use it. It's gonna be like Elmer's glue.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
it's got to be right away. You just rinse it. And the same thing, if they have a hose or if they just dump it in the bucket, you'd be surprised how much stuff you can do with these pads. You just fold them up like that and just shove it in the bucket and they just pop that.
There was some dude a week ago came in and was using them for like his fish tank as like filters.
Yeah,
You know the white ones?
Filters.
Yeah, the guy.
Wow.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
they're real aggressive. That's more like sandpaper type stuff. It's
Yeah,
really
so-
aggressive.
If you're, yeah, when you're stripping floors and you start doing it for a while, you'll notice these get gummed up really easy. Everything gets stuck out here, and then once they're filled with old floor finish and goo, there's no cutting edge to it anymore. These ones you can see they're kind of see-through. The junk kind of ends up in between, and they still have a good cutting surface. So sometimes if the customer says, "Why are these $20 and these $5?" That's the reason. These last just as long as 5 of these.
So would you recommend just the normal black pads for just a normal walk-in customer
Every
doing a
walk-in
strip
customer
in?
that's just trying to do something for the first time
Okay.
or just doing their house, always do these. Don't give them these
Okay.
because they will go overboard. These are more for our professional floor guys.
Most people who want those will ask for them. They'll say, "I want the high pro,
Yeah.
3M high pros," and they
So
know what
guys,
they're for.
yeah, like James,
Jason or your.
Jason, James, what's his name?
Tim,
The guy from the
Bob,
carpet.
David.
Robert.
No, not Manny.
Rick too.
Do
Manny's
you
a-
recommend a driver pad? Because these will stick all the way through and go
No.
to the floor.
These
I
are-
always recommend a driver pad to drive them with,
Yeah, I never have. I
black
always go
pad.
straight.
Cause I've seen those.
That means they're
those-
not, that just means they're going too far. Or they're using too much weight on the machine.
So there's a pad driver and then there's
I mean, you can.
That
The pad driver.
This is a pad driver right here.
Yeah, that's the pad driver. The pad driver will come on any low speed or high speed.
That's-
And you can get some low spots. It gets some low spots.
That's fine. I'm just saying, I've never used it that way.
No, Nolan, what are you using that for? Why are you recommending putting a pad on top of the pad
Because if you
driver?
have a lot of weight on the
He says
pad.
he's seen the pad driver.
This red
teeth
thing go through it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So
this
then
gives
they
it kind
wear
of a cushion.
then they'll wear the bristles out.
Yeah, a cushion. And sometimes people think, like I was telling Jonathan, they think this is good for cleaning your floor. This is not for cleaning your floor.
Yeah,
I had a
yeah, and I think
school
you guys
call
already
me
know that.
over there at the school and said, hey, you guys, your machine's leaving streaks all over the floor. And I was like, well, what are you guys doing? We go over there and they're using this only to clean
Yeah,
the floor.
that's, this group.
I said, you have to put something on here.
Yeah, always think of the,
3 days ago, literally, some dude was doing that.
Yeah,
Like,
think
Brush,
of the-
that's not the brush.
think of the floor of the, like your teeth. You wouldn't put that on your teeth, but you'd use them
You
something
don't know
nice
what I
and
would
soft. We got 5 minutes. Okay, one more pad.
okay.
We're gonna do real quick because we got 5 minutes. We try to get through all these pads.
do. Those monkeys?
Monkey pads and twister pads. What are those for?
Monkey.
Monkey pads.
See, they're really expensive, so that's a.
These are like what, 85,
I know the
90 bucks?
diamond.
Yeah, why are they so expensive?
Yeah, these are either concrete or stone polishing.
Polish,
What do they have in them?
diamonds.
They're diamond coated.
So it's
No, they're not,
concrete
yeah,
and
it's,
There's that map.
it's more of a, it's a cubic zirconia that's all mashed down into a powder and then they spray it. But
It's
the
like a
film-
lot of your women's engagements rings.
You can't take this and pull all the
So-
diamonds out.
Yeah, when you see, when you hear the term,
Dust.
oh, they're diamond pads, there is edges on here from diamond, but they're not real diamonds, they're manufactured diamonds. But, they get the same effect. The twister pads are, you can use low or high speed for the twisters. The monkey pads are low speed only. Don't let them put any of these on a high speed
Why?
unless, cause they have too much grip or I don't know what you call it, too much surface. They'll be too hot for the floor, they'll burn the floor.
Okay.
The only one that you might be able to get away with is the 11,000 grit.
But just don't do any monkey pads.
I wouldn't,
on a
yeah,
high
because
speed.
it's too much of a cross. If one of our experienced floor companies came in, you could explain them. The 11,000 monkey pad is the same as a green twister.
Okay.
They're of equal value.
Okay.
But it's easier just to keep the terminology to monkey pads are low speeds with lots of water. The twisters are just like spray buff, just a little bit of water. They actually used to sell twister juice.
And Marvel, she does too.
You remember the twister juice that came? It looked like radiator fluid.
Oh,
You ever remember that the stuff said Twister on it? Came in a gray bucket. It was from Twister, and you would put that in a spray, but it never worked. There's two of them.
So which
And so
side
the
do you use?
twister is also for concrete stone.
It'll say.
Ray, you have a question over here.
No, that was my question.
Oh.
Yeah, the twisters are sided.
But they
But
are.
you'll notice when they
Is there for concrete as well?
Are you
Yes.
sell them?
Twister and yeah, twister and monkey pads are going to be for stone and for concrete.
I think we have these in the system singly, right?
Yeah.
They just come as two.
So they do answer by one, they give them one of those and that's
Yeah.
two?
We
Are
don't
they
sell that
selling
as a
them by
pack.
one?
No, they're selling them by the eaches. They just come packed in.
They come like that
So
from.
they gotta be
Yeah, there's so many of them.
I think
When they
it's
buy
in there.
one, if you buy one, it's not
Too high-end
this.
stone
Because
work
there's
for
two, right?
concrete
Because these are
work.
expensive.
Yeah.
Because if you give them one of these, that's actually two. You know what
There's no camera.
Yeah, there is.
I'm saying? There's two
Oh,
in
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But in the system, they're
Yeah,
sold.
I didn't know that.
They're sold as eaches.
As each, okay.
Yeah.
And the monkeys are in 6 or 7 different levels. And then
The monkeys are graduated just like sandpaper. So you have a 200 grit, 400 grit, 800, 1500.
Next class we'll go through that.
And you work away.
All right.
Just like sandpaper.
You have anything else to
Wood.
say?
No, we're good. Next week.